Good Shabbos, everyone, from the Shuk in Yerushalayim. Everyone shopping, getting ready for Shabbos. In this week's Torah portion, the prophet Bilam utters the famous words, Hein am levadad yishkon uvagoyim lo yitkashav. He says, this is a nation that dwells alone and is not reckoned amongst the nations. And what Bilam foresaw is that the Jewish people will never gain acceptance in the eyes of the nations of the world. That anti-Semitism will prevail in every single nation, and indeed in every generation. No matter how much Jews tried to fit in and live peacefully with their neighbors, they were always isolated. And till today in the UN, the nation that receives the most condemnation is this beautiful land that I'm in right now, the land of Israel. And the question is this a blessing or a curse? It seems more like a curse. And perhaps the answer is that what Bilam was saying is not that there will be a lonely nation, but rather we will have many friends. But despite all the enemies that we have, we will never forfeit and give up our ways, our beliefs, our traditions, our heritage, our values. We will remain a nation apart. We will continue to insist and persist on being who we are as a Jewish people and never cave in and capitulate to the demands of the world for us to abandon our uniqueness and our identity and to maintain our dignity, to be different, to be apart, but never alone. Yes, the Jewish people have friends, and we're always reaching out to make more friends, but never at the cost or the expense of forfeiting and surrendering our Jewish identity. And that's what the land of Israel is. You see a land thriving, prosperous, growing, people from all over the world coming. And yes, we may be apart. We're getting ready for Shabbat tonight. This busy Shuk in a few hours will be empty, and everyone will be going to Shul for Shabbat and sitting with their families and lighting the Shabbat candles and having the Shabbat meal with Kiddush. We are apart, but at the same time, we recognize that only by maintaining our uniqueness can we be true to ourselves. And when we face anti-Semitism, the question is not for us to answer, why do they hate us? That's for them to answer. For us to answer is the question is, will we continue to be who we are as a Jewish people? And how will we treat each other regardless of what others say or do to us? And that's the beauty of this experience of being in Israel, to seeing the love, the unity, the camaraderie, the bond, and the preservation of our unique Jewish heritage and identity. President Biden is still in Israel. As a matter of fact, this morning, Dini and I and Yehudis, we were walking to the Kotel, and we were stopped because his motorcade with the beast of his car was going through on a visit to East Jerusalem to visit a hospital there. But just 2 days ago when he arrived, he went to Yad Vashem to pay respect, to remember the 6 million and lay a wreath there. And when he was there, he was given a seat up front with dignitaries, and there were two ladies, women, one in her 80s, one in her 90s, who were Holocaust survivors. And President Biden kneeled down before these women and held their hands and caressed it as he spoke to them for 7 minutes, kneeling on his knee, as all the dignitaries and leaders waited for him to finish before they could take their seats. And with a tear in his eyes, he kissed their cheeks and spoke to them lovingly. And here you had the president, the leader of the superpower of the world, the strongest country on the world, kneeling before two of the strongest women in the world, women who represent 6 million who perished and many millions more who survived, who endured concentration camps and persecution and the atrocities of the Holocaust, but yet we're here living the dream of Israel in the Holy Land, the vision and the prophecy of all the great prophets as proud Jewish women. Here was the president of the greatest superpower kneeling before the story of the Jewish people, our history of Hein am levadav yishkon, that even though we've been isolated and marginalized and persecuted in every generation, Hagoyim lo yitkashav, we were never accepted amongst the nations, yet we remained a nation apart and continue to celebrate our Jewish life, our Jewish heritage, and our Jewish identity. Shabbat Shalom from Jerusalem, and wishing everyone a peaceful Shabbat.